So Chris, I hear you had a really good call with Jason Rodriguez, and I hear he's got some troubles going on, and I'd like to hear a little about kind of how we can help him.
Yeah, we're going to have to help him because he's got a big problem here. He's got 13 credit cards, and the money going out from his regular job at the bank is pretty much every single penny he's making. So we got to try to solve this. And the funny thing is I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can solve this money problem. I mean, we can help almost everybody with the money multiplier, but this is going to be a challenging one. So
challenge accepted. Let's see if we can do this for him.
All right, let's dive in.
A lot of people, when they first see this, they watch one of the videos, they see this happen, they see the debt snowball, where we get rid of someone's debt in a fraction of time, which I'm very excited to kind of dive into yours. But a lot of people say that just looks too good to be true. Like, did that ever kind of come up in your mind? Were you ever thinking this looks too good to be true?
Yeah, it's always still in the back of my mind. And that's just to be honest. But the more I watch your videos, again, even driving here this morning, I was watching a video of yours again. And I think the difference here now would be the fact that we're doing this. There is a actual roadmap on to, what's happening and what's going to happen, a year from now, 6 months from now. However we break this down, it gives me a better understanding and know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, Jason, we got to solve his money problem. He had a lot of debt, not just a lot, 13 credit cards.
Wow.
So when I met with him, he clearly laid out his goals. He told me what his debts were. He had them very organized, and I'll give you some of that info. But his second goal, very simply, was just to buy a truck.
I honestly am looking at the Silverado.
Okay. The 1500?
Yes.
So what we want to do is, can we use the money multiplier method, and can we help him change one thing and solve his problems? But let me run you through a little bit about what Jason looks like on paper, because there's one major problem that we got to overcome is, Jason, he works for a bank, and he's doing well, but he's spending almost every single penny he makes in his W-2. But he's got a shining star. He's got a rental property that he gets income from. So that's the extra money that he's saving right now. And he feels like he's in big trouble because he doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. The way he's looking at it with his expenses and his debts, it's going to take him like 80 months.
I can imagine, yeah.
Which is too long, 80 months to pay off all of his debts. So that's where his problem is. So here's what he's got going on, Andrew. He's got a mortgage of $1,450. He's got household expenses of $875. His current car is $505, but this car is going to be paid off. Okay. So we don't really need to worry so much about this car because he wants to buy the truck. That's really what we're doing. So the car payment's just an expense. We don't need to get into paying that off. His car insurance is $285, but check this out. Like his credit cards, you see my little drawing. It's like the ball and chain.
It's really appropriate.
13 credit cards are costing him $3,736. Yeah,
it's almost double his mortgage.
Exactly. His total expenses are $6,851 a month. That's $82,212 a year. That's just what he's spending. And most of that, that's $3,736. This is pretty much everything he's making at the bank. So, can you imagine going to your job and every day you're working, you're like, okay, all this money that I made, almost 100% is going to go to somebody else. How would that wouldn't feel good.
Yeah, no.
And the Whopper.
Oh, what's this one? Save the best for
credit
last.
Credit cards.
All right, Andrew, so here's what we got going on with Jason and his money problem. So he works at a bank, just a conventional bank. He brings in about $85,000 per year in W-2 income, but his one thing that's going to save him is he's got a rental property. He's got a duplex that brings him in $24,000 a year. And the rental property, that money is the only money that he's saving right now. So when he brings in the rent, that money's just going into an account and he's saving it. And he's been trying to pay these debts down kind of the good old-fashioned way. Pay the highest interest rate one off, pay the highest balance, try to knock them down. But we're going to snowball this thing. So total income's $109, but the total amount of money he has going out the door just in these debts is $37.36 a month.
Yeah. That probably, I don't even think his income would cover all of that, the debt that we went over, right?
No, because if you look right here, his total monthly expenses are $68.51 a month, $82,000 a year, and if we come back here, he's only making $85,000. So like I said, the rental income's the only thing saving Jason. And when I first talked to him, and he was really prepared, he sent me over all of his debts, which we'll get into in a second, all 13 of them. I about fell out of my chair.
$6,851 a month.
$6,851 a month. And for the people watching this, can you just do the math? Like, what does that work out to be a year? How much money are you giving away to other people every single year?
$82,212.
I think, I might have startled him a bit because he's got $155,000 just in credit cards. Well, he had an interesting business. He got into one of those businesses that, you use your credit card, you buy the goods and you sell the goods, and it snowballed into a lot of debt. And I did his average percentage that he's giving away on all these credit cards. So for all 13 credit cards, he's paying an average of 15.45% just in interest. So, almost all this money is going right to interest.
And I guarantee some of those credit cards are probably quite a bit higher in interest than that, probably in the 20s at this point.
Oh yeah, they certainly are. And I bet you they're not even mailing him Christmas cards. The expenses that we've got, we kind of talked about them already, but the credit cards are $37.36. Household expenses, $875. His car payment is $505, but that's going to pay itself off, and he's going to upgrade to this new truck. His car insurance and expense is $285, and his mortgage is $1,450. So that's how we arrive at that $82,000 in money going out the door. But when we break his income down, his W-2 wages are $7,083 or $85,000, and his rental income's about $2,000 a month. So he's got $9,000 coming in total, and about $68.51. So that's what we got to work with. And Jason's completely willing to kind of not live an extravagant life for the next few years if we can help him do this. And I said to him, I said, listen, you're kind of redlining, that's where you're at. So we're going to have to really give something to really make this work. And he said, listen, if I got to live eating rice and beans, then I will. And I said, no need for that. You can still have your Starbucks. So if we look at it, his savings amount, the amount he could truly save is $22.32. If we took his debt and his expenses, $68.51 minus his income of $9,083, that's how much he can actually save. Okay.
So about these 13 credit cards, I want to know a little bit more about it. Plus, also, if I heard you correctly, we're going to buy him a new car while we're paying off these credit cards. Is that right? Did I hear that correctly?
That's his goal.
Okay. All right. Challenge accepted. Let's see if we can do this for him.
All right. So here it all is. This is everything that we've got. These are all of his credit cards: Discover, Wells Fargo, HSN, Bank of America. They're all right here. We've got the time to pay him off. The longest one is going to take him 82 months to pay that thing off. And then we've got the interest rates. Yeah, some of them are definitely higher, but the average, even with the new car loan, and we're thinking that's going to be 6%, the average is 15.45. Yeah, so we're talking about $155,000 in debts, and a monthly payment right now of about $37.36 that we got to deal with.
It's a lot of debt.
It's a nice goal, right? Yeah. So the whole idea here is we've built the plan. Okay, so we built the plan design. Is now those are just numbers on the paper to me when I'm looking at it, which is why we have the mapping team, and I'm hoping you can kind of help take the numbers from the plan design that we created for Jason and actually put them in an order where it solves his money problem here.
And that's our job, is to do that, is to basically map out, now that I have this policy, what do I do with it? How do I actually pay off all this loans? And that we'll get to work right away on that and come up with a plan to help him pay all of this off and get his new car.
Yeah, when I actually looked at this and talked to him, and we were talking about how long is it going to take him to pay this off the bank's way, and I told him it's going to be over 5 years. You should have, the look on his face was definitely not one of excitement. And he's remembering the one video he watched that we did where we helped a chiropractor pay off over $700,000 in 6.5 years, and he's thinking, can we do this in less time than that? And I don't know. Let's get into the mapping.
Absolutely.
All right, Jason, so here's what we got. We put together all the numbers based on the inputs that you gave us. Our number one goal is we're going to pay off all the debt. First, we had to build your plan design. We had to take your inputs, the money that you were saving in a bank account, and we just had to change that one thing and change where that money goes first. So this is the plan we designed for you. And I know it's a lot of numbers. We're just going to carve into them, but.
So based on the policy illustration you sent me on Jason and the policy you designed for him, I've got the debt map already finished for him. And before I go into this first, I want to say that this is he is not alone in this. There's a lot of people with a lot of credit card debt. This is not the largest debt map I've ever done. $150,000, $155,000 is actually not terrible. We usually can get these paid off faster than, well, always faster than it was, he would pay it off if he was just paying the minimum balances.
Even though Jason thought he was a white unicorn and the only one with this many credit cards and this much debt, he's actually normal?
Yep, and
I'll make sure I tell him that.
Please do. Yes, I think he would appreciate that too. That he's definitely not alone on this. And we're buying his new car and paying off his credit cards much faster. We ended up paying off everything off, including that new car, in 4 years. And we'll show you in a second how we made that plan to make that work. Yeah,
he's gonna like that. Yeah, I think
he's gonna love it.
When I was talking to him, he would have been perfectly happy just paying off all 13 credit cards. I think the car, I was just like, okay, what else do you want to do? And he's just like, well. A new truck would be nice.
That'd be good, you know.
Yeah,
okay,
so that's going to be a nice bonus for him.
Awesome, awesome. So we're always happy to see that. So what I've done so far is I took the policy illustration that you sent me the other day, and I put together a cash flow statement for it, and which goes through the amount that he's going to put in, the values that he's going to get out of it. So I'm going to let you kind of go through. I know you wanted to talk through some of these numbers first before we get started in the debt map. So I'm going to let you go there with it.
Yeah, I think that all of our members, with the Money Multiplier, they love this because this is that point where all the conversation we have, all the problems we discuss, this is where they first get to see us solving their money problem. And not only that, at this point they've agreed to change one thing in their life. They've agreed to add that one step and change where the money went first. For Jason, he works for the bank, so clearly his rental income, which is the extra money he's saving, was going into a traditional bank account. And now what he's going to do is change that money and he's going to put it into this specially designed and engineered whole life here. So looking at this, I love the fact that I think one thing that's going to help him a lot is he had that ability to put that $15,000 dump in. So Jason did what we call a dump in. And all a dump in is very simple. It's if you've got lazy money sitting somewhere. Let's just say I've got this money sitting in my regular bank account. And my regular bank account's not paying me a whole lot of money on that. What if I took this money from this hand and I just moved it into this hand? But this hand paid me 4%. Plus dividends. Wouldn't that be a smart move to move the money from this hand to this hand? It is. A dump-in is nothing more than that. It allows us to get your money that's sitting lazy to work faster for you. And then Jason had the ability to use that money to help him pay off those debts much quicker. He's been saving trying to get this paid off, so we had an extra 15 grand that we dump into this plan. And then each year we're going to put 15,000 per year. So he had that extra money from the rental. We're not going to use all that because, well, hey, if something happens, we got to make sure he's got an emergency fund. Yeah. But he's going to put 15,000 in each year for 10 years. So if I look at it, we got the guaranteed values and the projected values, and I just want to see where this plan. So okay, so this is, a lot of people when they see this, they think that this is going to be something that's going to be a sprint. And I told Jason already. I said, hey. The goal is to solve your money problem and pay off these debts. The goal is not to look at this and say, we're doing a sprint to this. 4 years is a sprint for him, but this is a marathon. This thing looks really good in the later years. I mean, in year one, he puts in 30, he makes a deposit, and then he's immediately going to go in within the first 30 days, and we're going to take the most out that we can. So in his case, $25,380 is going to come out, and we're going to just start knocking debt down, which I know you're going to show me in a second. But I think that's something he's going to absolutely love. And by the time we get, let's just pick year 8. In year 8, he puts in 15, and he takes out 15,582. But I think the real magic here is when he takes that 15,582 out, all of this money that he's putting in, every penny of his deposits that he's put in has still been earning interest. So he's earning that uninterrupted compound interest every single year. And by the time he makes it to year 11 here, he puts in $6 grand and he's taken out 11.
That's when the engine really starts revving up.
When this, that's when we're not doing the sprint. That's when this rocket ship's in orbit, and man, we're just blasting away. 6,000 to take out 11,000. Sign me up. So what else on here is important? Like, what else should I talk to Jason about with this?
So a couple of things. From the illustration, we have a guaranteed value and we have a projected value. We always use a projected value when we're doing debt maps because it includes a dividend that's paid into the accounts as well.
So in Jason's specially designed whole life, every single year, he's going to get a dividend. The mutually owned insurance company pays dividends each and every year. The one we use for him has paid consecutive dividends for 168 years. But here's the interesting thing. Although dividends are not guaranteed, right now,
if I were to look at the dividends that this company pays, they're at a 30-year low. This is the lowest dividend this company's ever paid in 30 years because we're in a low interest rate cycle. And prior to these 30 years and where we're at today, the dividends have been as high as, well, you've seen them up to 12%, 8%, 9%. They've been all over the place. Today, they're at 6%. So when you look at that, that gives us a really strong understanding that we're showing it at the lowest point in time.
We like to make people aware of this because this is a guaranteed cash value contractually. This might change over year, and that's why 3 times a year you'll get a call from us in the debt mapping department to say, has anything changed? We'll update this as this goes. This is a living document. So the first year we're going to have him pay off everything. Next year we're going to take a look and see what the dividend is for next year and change anything as we need it based on his new policy or based on his policy. So that's why we want to let people know that this isn't the guaranteed is a guaranteed value that's contractually bound. The projected will change year over year. The projected dividends right now are pretty low, just because that's where interest rates are right now.
It's 30-year low,
yeah,
actually.
exactly.
We're at the lowest point we've been in 30 years because of this incredible COVID low interest rate cycle. I think he's going to be at about a 2% dividend on this, and then his guaranteed values on this particular plan are 4%. So he's making about 6% when you add the dividend to the guaranteed interest rate.
Yep. And in that, it's going to take 4 years to pay it off at that 6%. Next year, if it goes up to maybe 3 or 4%, that number is going to change. We can pay it off faster for him.
Yeah, but we're just going to show them just what the company's doing right now. And the other thing, too, that I think is worth saying is, he works for a bank. And when I was talking to him about, this and taking back control of his money, we started getting into the conversation of what happened back in March when COVID first happened. And me, I'm always talking about conventional banks. I said, so when people were coming into your bank and they were asking for all their money from the bank, would your bank, I said, Jason, I said, does your bank give everybody all their money back?
In COVID, if somebody came into your bank and they made a deposit of $30,000 and they came back, I don't know, a week later, and they wanted to take $25,000 out, what would be the bank's procedure? I mean, would you just hand them $25,000 and say, hey, thanks for playing today? How does that work?
Nope.
What happens at a regular bank when you want to take $25,000? Now that 30 grand that you just deposited, that's your money. If I want to take $25,000 out, what's the procedure at a bank?
So you would have to call ahead of time, request the money. We would tell you probably within a week, you can have your funds. So we'll then order it, and then we'll have you come in, and then we have to verify who you are. And then we'll have to go through the accounting process jointly. And we need to make sure that you're protected. So you would have to either come with someone who can make sure that you walk to your car with your cash.
To me, that's not being in control of your money in any way, shape, or form.
No, not at all. No.
So this cash flow looks pretty good. I mean, it looks really good the later we get. So, once we get rid of all of his debt, you said that was in year 4?
Yep, year 4, we have everything paid off.
And we're going to look at that in a second. But so all of his debt's paid off in year 4, and then this thing's just a unbelievable machine. It just keeps printing money for him.
All right, so let me show you a little bit about how we help Jason pay off all of this debt. So I'm going to go through the first year very quickly. What we have is we have a $30,000 into his account. So that's what's being paid. Okay, that means that we have a total cash value of $25,380. So the way that we pay these off is we go from smallest to highest as far as debts are concerned. So the lowest was his Discover at $2,000, paid that off. His Wells Fargo at $2,920, paid that off. Home Shopping Network, $3,500, paid that off. Bank of America, paid that off. His First Bank of America, his Capital One, paid that off. So we just paid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards off right away, just done.
And we did that just by taking a loan from the policy immediately in the first 30 days?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. As soon as he got that money available, within the first 30 days, we paid all of those debts off. Now, because we want to be an honest banker, and because we want to recapture that this is how this system works, is I want to take every payment that he had, we're going to put that into a segregated bank account. So a separate account, he's going to make those payments back to his bank versus the Bank of Discover, Wells Fargo, the other banks.
So you often hear us talk about this segregated bank account, and a lot of people don't quite know what that is. It's simple. All it is go to your local bank, wherever you do your banking, open up a new bank account. I don't care if it's a checking or savings account, and we're going to call that your segregated bank account. Why would we do that? Books and records, folks. We just want to track all the money going in and the money going out so that you don't have all this money from this brand new banking system going into your regular black hole checking account, and all of a sudden, poof, there's no money left. The segregated account keeps it separate. Yeah, and he already set up his segregated account. He just, he works at the bank, so he just opened a second account.
Awesome, perfect,
So now
excellent.
that'll be the only money that's going to be going into that segregated account will be the money that he was giving away to everybody else. And on all these debts that we just paid off, how much interest did he actually get to recapture here?
So the Discover was almost 11%, the Wells Fargo is 11%, the Home Shopping Network was a whopping 21.99%. Bank of America was 16.99 and Capital One was 17.9. So these are all pretty high debts, and he's paid them off.
Well, I hope Home Shopping Club gave him a 5% discount on that order for dinging him with that kind of
I really
interest
hope
rate.
so,
That's
right?
how they do it, right?
Oh, absolutely,
Would you like
right?
to use the Home Shopping Network credit card, and we'll give you 15% off? And how much did they charge him? 21.
They were charging him, what was it? Yeah, it was 21.99%. It was the highest of the ones that we just paid off.
Those pesky credit cards. They got people though. That works.
Absolutely, so true, so true. So we have him paying off all of those credit cards we just paid off. He's now paying that back into a segregated account. So every month he's paying $532 into a segregated account. So that's the first year.
And I think the best thing, that he's going to love about this is he didn't have to work harder. Remember, I said he's on such a tight budget. Like, for him to do this was difficult. Like, he's putting a lot of that money he's saving into this from the rental. So he's now going to be saving an extra $532, but he didn't have to work any harder for that money. He didn't have to go in and do any overtime. He didn't have to take on any risk and put money in the stock market and roll the dice. And he didn't lose control of his money. He actually took back control of $532.
Yeah, exactly. What he
Every
did,
month.
he took those payments that he was making to another bank, and he just moved them into his bank.
Oh, he's going to love that.
Much better idea.
So that's year one?
That's year one. Let's get on to year number two. So in year number two, his deposit was $15,000 because, like you said, we're doing that $15,000 dump in. So $15,000 deposit plus an additional $15,000 just to get everything going quickly.
Right. So year one, he put that extra 15 grand in, which juiced his plan a little bit and gave it a little better performance.
Absolutely, absolutely. So he didn't do the dump in, only did the dump in the first year. So the second year we're going to pay $15,000. Again, the first year we paid $15,000 plus an additional $15,000 one-time dump in that he does just to get this thing up and going.
And that 15 grand was just money he had sitting in a bank account earning pretty much next to nothing. So all we did is we moved that 15 grand from his regular bank to his bank, where his bank pays him a guaranteed 4%.
You might as well get it from his bank, probably paying 0.7% if he's really, really lucky, into his other bank account that's now paying 4%.
And I love
guaranteed.
that because when people do that, like, what they got to realize is now they got an extra in his case, he's got an extra 15 grand earning that guaranteed interest rate plus the dividend. So that's going to give him some extra horsepower in this plan later on.
Absolutely, it will. Absolutely. So he put a premium deposit of $15,000, then immediately took a loan from his policy of $13,376.
Yeah, immediately in the first 30 days of making that premium deposit.
Within month 13 of this, the first month of the second year. So we already have these other, all these other credit cards paid off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pay off his Citibank, we're going to pay off the Second Bank of America, we're going to pay off his Chase.
So he's going to get 3 more credit cards paid off in year number 2. And like, what were these credit cards charging him? I know Home Shopping Network was really dinging him on that. So are these ones better or worse?
They're kind of about the same. So the Citibank was lower, 15.24%. The Bank of America was charging him 11.9. I think that's the lowest one.
Wow.
And then Chase was charging him 15.24.
Still, it's quite a bit.
It's not bad at all. Yeah.
Money he's just writing a check every single month. I mean, so the checks were $270 he wrote to that one?
$258 and $193. We added those into the payment he's making to a segregated account. So now we also used the $6,384 he had in his segregated account to pay off the rest of these as well.
So that was the money that was left over in that segregated account. So he took the money he used to give to all those credit cards year one, changed the name on the check, and paid them to his bank, and deposited them in that segregated account, and that was $6,000.
It's sitting there, and now, we reclaimed that $6,000. So now that it's in his bank's going to add that to the cash value. We're good to go. We just paid off 3 more credit cards and got 3 more problems taken care of.
That's what I call taking back control of your money.
Absolutely, might as well. again, it's better to pay it to your bank than to theirs because you can use it. If you pay it to the other banks, you can't, I mean, if you make your credit card payment, do you ever really see that back? Not really. You don't see that interest back again.
You brought up a good point. Like, why is it so hard for people to just like think about that, right? Like, just become your own bank and just take back the money you give away. Like, if you pay a credit card off, no one ever teaches us when you pay something off, like, take the same amount you were basically paying that person and pay it back to your account. Now you'd have a lot more in savings, but we're never taught that.
No, you're paying it anyway, and you might as well just keep paying it, but start using it for your devices versus letting the bank pay it and let them use it and lend it out and do whatever they do with the money that you pay
I
them.
always like to think that this concept's so simple, but it's so foreign to the way people are taught money works. You know, everybody's taught to give up control of their money, pay everybody else your money that you make. But make sure you go when you work overtime and you work hard, because that's what we're taught to do, right? Work for our money, but we're never taught how to make our money work for us. And that's exactly what Jason's doing here.
Exactly, and it just becomes the way that we're taught about money is completely different than really how money actually works.
Yeah, these maps are incredible. I mean, the simple fact that like every one of our members, when their policy is issued and they make their first deposit, you create this map. It's almost like what you're doing here is you're predicting the future for Jason and for all our members. Like, think about the power of that. You know, when Jason sees this, and we literally predicted the future for him right in front of his eyes and showed him how just changing that one thing impacts his life. I mean, we're only in year 2.
Yep, exactly. So think about it like starting a financial journey. You know, what do you do when you start off a trip? You put into your device, whatever device you happen to use, you put in, I want to go to this address, I want to use this map. You use that map to help guide you, and that's what these do.
Oh, that's awesome. Almost makes me want to just kind of jump forward and like, where are we at? But yeah, like, what is he? So year 2, he deposited, you know, in a premium, $15,000, took out the 13, got rid of all those. And what's his recapture now?
So used his segregated. So now he's getting $1,253 back into that segregated account. Again, we're taking that from the banks, moving that all into his bank now.
Same
so let's
money
go into
he
year
gave
3.
away.
Year 3 is when things get exciting because at this point we've paid off enough of these credit cards that we're starting to really see a significant amount build inside of that segregated account. So in year number 3, we have a $15,000 deposit. He immediately, within the first 30 days, takes out a loan of $13,919. We add that to the $15,036 that we had in the segregated account.
Oh, that's important, yeah. So not only is he taking a loan from his policy immediately in the first 30 days, but then he's going into that newly created checking account, what we call the segregated account, and he's taking that amount out each year. Got it.
So yeah, so he takes that out. Yeah. So $28,955 is what we use to pay off the second Chase, the second Citibank card, his NASA card, which kind of sounds cool.
NASA, is he going to the moon?
I have no idea. It must be something. I don't know. We'll have to ask him the next time we talk to him about that. So we pay off those 3 credit cards. So now we are down to two more credit cards and his car loan. So we're almost paid off.
Wait. Year 3, he only has 2 more cards out of 13 credit cards that we started with? Oh, dude, he's going to freak. You know what he's going to do? He's going to look at this and he's going to say, no way, this looks too good to be true.
Absolutely.
How many times do you hear that on your mapping calls?
The nice part is it is on paper, so we can see exactly how he got these numbers, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, these aren't made up numbers. They're right off of the policy illustration. We
Absolutely.
just took his debts, his numbers, and took the numbers off of his policy illustration, and here we are.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, this gets exciting.
So even more exciting. So we're going to go down to year number 4. So he puts in
How much was his recapture from paying those credit cards off in year 3?
Oh, that was $2,563 into the segregated account.
So that's that $2,600 or $2,563. That's just the money he was given to the credit card. Yep. Still, there's no new money in here?
Nope. Okay. We're just taking it from one point, banks, all the credit cards, putting it over into my bank or his bank.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. So this year, $15,000 deposit.
So we're year 4 now.
Year 4.
This is the home stretch too, right?
We're almost done. Yeah, we pay a bunch off here.
What would have taken him 83 months?
Yes.
We're paying it off in 4 years.
And a new car.
Oh yeah, that's
because he's been paying on his car all the way through this as well.
Yeah, I didn't tell him about that. I told him the car might not happen.
Well, no, the car's going to happen in year 4. We're good.
I knew it, but I didn't want to
let the
cat out of the bag.
Under promise and over deliver, right?
Point.
Absolutely. So he puts a premium deposit of $15,000 in. Same thing we have been doing for the past 3 years, right?
Okay.
So he immediately takes a loan from his policy for $14,272.
So 30 days after he makes his premium deposit, he's taking $14,272 out. Okay.
Yep. Now notice that this is getting closer and closer to the 15 he's putting into it. We're only at year 4, and it's getting pretty close.
Well, that's what we always say is, this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. In the beginning, you're putting money in, and a lot of people, when they look at this, they say, wait a second, he's depositing $15,000, and he's not even getting all $15,000 that he can take out. And I look at people, and I know that they don't understand it when they say that, because I say, how many times do you go in and make a deposit in your regular bank and then immediately go and take all that deposit out? Very rarely.
And I got to ask you, Jason, when you deposit money in your regular bank that you have now, do you deposit money in that bank and immediately go in and take all that money out?
No.
You don't? Gosh.
No.
Because I would think that the people that tell me that they have a problem when they deposit 30 and they only have 25, I start thinking that, man, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe people are making deposits in their bank and just emptying their bank out every single month, but you're not doing that, right?
No.
So the fact that we have only 25,000 to use the first year really isn't a huge issue for you.
No. Because I know what's at the end. So.
And not only that, does your bank continue to pay you? This 15 grand he's depositing, I know he's only taking 14,272 out, but the insurance company is still paying him interest and dividends on every penny he's deposited.
Absolutely. 100% of the premium deposits he's put in, even though he's taking loans from his policy. And I think that's one thing that makes this such a powerful tool.
Oh, dude, sign me up, man. Like, I go to my bank, I deposit $15,000. And I take $14,272 out, and my bank tells me that I'm still going to earn 4% plus a dividend on all $15,000, even though I'm holding most of it in my hand.
Mind blown.
Yeah, uninterrupted compound interest. And I believe a gentleman by the name of Albert Einstein made a comment about that. I think he said, the theory of this mathematical equation simply states this: those that understand compound interest shall earn it. Those that do not will pay it. Which side do you want to be on? I then called it the 8th wonder of the world. My friend Jason has been participating in using my mathematical equation called uninterrupted compound interest. And he earned this interest inside of this specially designed and engineered whole life policy called privatized banking. To me, that should be the 8th wonder of the world.
But so the interesting thing though is, we have a loan right now that we're taking $14,272, but get this, we have $30,756 in his segregated account. That's that $2,563 that we've been putting back in. So that we've taken from all these banks that we put into his banking system. So we have a total of $45,028 that we can use here. So what we're going to do,
the loan plus the amount that was accumulated in that newly created segregated bank account.
Very correct, absolutely. So what we're going to do is we're going to take his American Express, his Capital One, and we're going to pay off the remaining $15,800 on his car loan. We're going to pay the whole thing off.
You mean
the
that
new
new
car
truck?
Loan. The new car
And just to
loan.
be clear, like I made him do the vision board stuff. You know how I'm about visualization.
You have to be able to visualize exactly what it is you want. So if you want a black Silverado, that's not enough. We need to know what that truck exactly looks like. Black truck, black wheels, what the interior looks like, which I'm not going to get into that, but visualization is a very powerful thing, because if you can envision what it is you want, and then you can just keep working toward it, it's going to be yours. And I'll tell you something, with what we have here, these dreams are going to become reality very quickly.
I said, Jason, you can't just tell me you want to buy a new truck. Like, what new truck? He wants to buy a GMC or a Chevy, not a GMC. He wants to buy a Chevy Silverado, the blackout edition. You've seen those driving around, right? All black, black wheels. And I just told him, hey, you're going to have fuzzy dice hanging from your mirror?
Black, I'm going to match everything
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Right. So yeah, but we even paid off the rest of that car loan.
Wow, so he's now, this is 4 years, okay? He's completely debt-free. And he thought he was going to be debt-free after like 5 or actually whatever 83 months is. That was his longest one.
Technically, we're at 37 months and he's paid off everything. So it's 1 month longer.
And a car.
And a car.
And a car. Now, the only thing we haven't really covered here is, we showed the money, being deposited in premium deposits and taking loans out, paying debts off and buying cars and then recapturing that money. But the one thing we didn't talk about yet is the interest that the insurance company is charging on those loans. That's not in the map. So, a lot of people are going to ask about that. Yeah, well, a loan that you take from someone has to be paid back. But, what he's going to love is this loan that he's taking out, even though we're going to repay it, and we're going to show that in a second, the loan doesn't need to be repaid because it's coming away from his death benefit. The other thing, too, is the insurance company is charging him interest on these loans. They are. Charging him 5%. So every time he took a loan from this, the insurance company is going to start charging him 5% simple interest on that. But because his money never left the account, because he makes that premium deposit, the insurance company loans him money, which was just a loan against his death benefit, and they charge him 5%. He's making the equivalent of, as of 2021, of 6%. But yet when he's making 6%, he's giving back 5% of that to the insurance company. But that's not really how the numbers shake out, is it? No. So I think you did another tool for him, which I think is really cool, and it shows the cash-on-cash return, because a lot of people get hung up on that. They're like, well, if I'm making 6 and I'm paying 5, like I'm only making 1%, that's not really that good. I laugh at that too, because I say, okay, so you're telling me that your bank pays you 1% for taking all your money out of your account? Got it. What bank are you at? And they never seem to have an answer. They're like, well, no, what bank? I want to go bank there. Seriously? Well, my bank doesn't work that way. Precisely. I know your bank doesn't work that way. This bank, your bank now, is working exactly that way. But the other thing, too, I want to do is, does he ever pay these loans back?
So to use this properly, we would pay these loans back, yes. So we would continue to make payments on these loans throughout the life until you have paid them back into your account. So that's why in here you can see I have the amount, $42.21, going into a segregated account, even though he's paid this loan off, and this can be used to pay back that loan again. Because at the end of this year, year 4, he's got $50,652 left to pay back into that loan. Again, not changing anything. He's just making these payments as he would.
I think that's a very important thing to talk about. So the whole time the insurance company on all these loans has charged him 5%, but he's earned 6% on all of his money. Yes. We'll get into the returns that he's made. But now, and he didn't work any harder for this, now he's got $50,652 just sitting in that segregated account. Yep.
So the total loans that he took from his policy were $66,947, plus the amount that he put into a segregated account that, again, we were changing from paying his bank to, or paying other banks to paying his bank.
Right, so we were giving the money to the credit cards at a rate of roughly about averaging 15% or more, and now he's only paying 5% on that money, those loans that he took from his policy, which were just advances of his death benefit. So he took $66,000 in loans and paid off $155,000
by not changing a thing.
Like,
except where he puts his money.
If he says that to his friends, if he says, yeah, I took $66,000 in loans from my bank and I paid off the credit cards banks for $155, they're going to like, the math doesn't make sense. He's like, yes, it does, because I took back all the money that I used to give away to the insurance company. So the thing that's funny here, and just jot it down, but I mean, if he's taking back 15, let's just say 15%, simple math, because that's the average of what he was paying in interest, right? He was giving away 15, and now he's paying 5. So 15 minus 5, that's 10% positive to him. That's just the math. That's just 10% he just picked up by taking back the interest he was giving away. But then his policy also was making money, which that's what I can't wait to show him. I can't wait to show him the cash on cash. So he picked up 10% just in the spread from what he was giving away to what he's got to pay the insurance company. And it's not going to take him long. So if he owes $66,000 right there at the end of year 4, he's got $50,000. He can just take that $50,000 from the segregated account, pay down his loan. Now he only owes the insurance company, what is that, $16,000? So a couple months into the next year, he's totally paid himself back. And the cool thing about when you pay this is the part that people I think get confused on. When somebody else pays a loan to a bank, a traditional bank, if you make a monthly payment to a traditional bank, that monthly payment is gone forever. You're never going to get that money back. When he pays his bank back, every penny he pays back is money he can use the next day. So when he takes that $50,000 from that segregated account and he pays down $50,000 of that $66,000 loan, he now has $50,000 to use the next day when his check clears. Absolutely. That's the thing that people don't get. This is your loan. You're the bank. You're taking a loan from your policy, and you are in control. He can decide when he wants to pay that loan back. I mean, clearly we haven't paid the loan back.
And let's say that something happens later on. So let's say, well, we're paying this back, and we usually recommend that people pay everything back into the account because that's the best way this engine works. But let's say something happens where he can't make his payment on month 42. This is his loan, his bank.
His bank, right. So he's in control of the terms.
Yeah.
I bet you he couldn't have called, what was the last loan, Amex or something? I bet you he couldn't call Amex and say, hey, I'm going through some hard times. I can't pay you this month. Is that cool? I bet you Amex would say, no, that's not really that cool.
No, not really at all.
We're going to penalize you. We're going to charge you a fee. Oh, and by the way, we're going to report you to the credit agencies. But when he can't pay his bank back, he's got to like literally go look himself in the mirror with that sad face and say, bank, I can't pay you back today. So all he does is looks himself in the mirror and says, hey, I can't pay my bank back. And his bank looks back at him, which is him, and says, cool, you set the terms because you own the bank.
Must be a really interesting conversation.
I don't know. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
So
all right, so what's next?
And one other thing I want to hit on this, though, too, he just put $75,000 into this policy, and I want to reiterate again, he's earning 4% plus a dividend on all $75,000 he just put into that policy, even with the loans that he's taken out.
Yeah,
I think that's
right.
another part that's just
Oh,
insane
yeah.
about this. We don't think about this with a bank. We think about, I put $10,000 into a bank, I take $9,000 out, I earn interest on 1%, and that's not the way these policies work. He's earning interest on that entire 10%,
That's
or
a
the
good point.
10,000. You know, he earns everything plus the dividend.
Well, in other words, he deposits $75,000. You said?
Yeah,
Okay, so his
$75,000.
premium deposits were $75,000, but he took $66,000 of that $75,000 out, and he's earning interest and dividends on the full $75,000.
Full 75,000.
Yeah, because his money never left his account.
Absolutely.
When he took those loans, it wasn't his money he was taking out. It was the insurance company's money. They were just saying, hey, we got to pay a death benefit someday when you graduate. Nice way of saying die. When Jason graduates, they got to pay him a death, or pay somebody a death benefit. So they just say, all right, well, we'll give you part of your death benefit while you're living, but we're going to hit you with 5% interest on it. Oh, boo-hoo.
Exactly.
Makes 10%.
Exactly. And generally, the death benefit is much larger than the loans that you were able to take out of this policy. So you're never going to get to a point where there would be not enough death benefit to cover all of the loans that you take from your policy too. So it's always going to, it's always going to be, you don't leave this to your family later on to have to deal with after you graduate.
Yeah, and there's a lot to this, and I'm glad Jason, before we even ever talked to him, he watched the full 90-minute video that we do, and he learned this concept and how it works. So now he's just going to see, all this stuff happening for him and showing his money problem disappearing in 4 years.
So one of the other things that we do when we do a debt map is a cash-on-cash return, right? I want to see how much we get back from these policies. So in year number 5, he put $15,000 into as a policy deposit. The cash value he has available is $14,837. But then let's take a look further on as we go farther, because we said this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon, this is a long-term goal. At year 10, he puts $15,000 in as a policy deposit. And he gets $16,988 back again. That's 13% more, a little over 13% more than he put in.
A lot of people don't realize that because people are taught to think of cumulative returns. People are looking at this saying, yeah, but in year 10, he's put in $15,000 for 10 years. He put in $150,000 plus that initial deposit. But what they miss is every year he's putting money in, he has the ability to take that money right back out. And when he takes that money back out, which he did, he took loans, he's still earning interest and dividends on the full amount. So when we actually look at how he's making money with this, he made that 10%, right, which was the 15.45% average he was giving away to all the credit cards and the car loan. That's what he used to give away. Now he's got that money back. But then he had to give 5% to the insurance company. So he actually nets 10.45 on the outside stuff that he did by taking back that money. True. But over here, by year 10, so you're saying he made 13%. So that's on top of that.
Yep. So in year 15, though, his premium deposit is only $6,000, but he gets $13,569 back again. That's 126% return.
That's crazy.
He's getting more out than he's putting in.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, Jason, so if I go into the bank you work for and I give in 15 years from today, I give one of your tellers $6,000, is your teller going to give me back $13,000?
I think the only way that would happen is if you had a mask and a bag.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen, but that's pretty cool. I think he'll get a laugh out of that.
Absolutely. So in year number 20, we have a premium deposit of $6,000 in. We get $17,870 back again, 197, almost a 200% return.
Wow.
So almost get double our money back.
That's the power of uninterrupted compound interest.
Absolutely.
I mean, every year you're putting money in, and that money is always earning interest and dividends, no matter whether or not you take it out.
And again, there's not too many times that we can say this. People might be thinking, but wait, I'm taking loans from my policy. Well, it doesn't matter. You're always going to earn this whether or not you take loans.
Yeah, and I think the best thing is every time, when our members work with our mapping team, they're like, well, how much is this? Who do I have to pay for this? Because this is a lot of work. But this is something that we do for free. It's something that, when Brent came up with this, he said, you know what, this is a very important part of what it is, because who has time to do this? Can you imagine if a client started one of these specially designed and engineered whole lives, and then all of a sudden they had to do all this themselves? Do you think anyone would do it?
No, not at all.
I wonder how they'd have success with it then.
It would be like going on a trip without, to somewhere you'd never been before, to a really foreign land without having a map, and that's never really a good idea. So that's what the mapping solution is, and that's also why we will update these throughout the years as well. So it's not just a one-time and then we leave you on that, because again, the dividend can change, your circumstances can change, things can happen when you're doing that. So we make sure that we get in contact with you a few times a year to make sure that this is the most up-to-date. It is a living document that keeps changing.
And all he did is change one thing. He changed where his money went first.
Well, thank you, Chris, again. This has been amazing, eye-opener for me to definitely see, that my debts can be paid off in a fraction of a time. This is definitely something where, my normal bank, that I even work in, we're unable to provide something like this to offer to our clients. And so even for myself, this is just amazing how, we can actually do this in this period of time. So thank you again.